Joining us now is elections correspondent at the Federalist, Brianna Lyman. Brianna, great to see you again. Former US President Joe Biden has sat down for an interview with the BBC, and just as we witnessed time and time again last year, he showed up, but it's like he's barely there. He takes long pauses, he mumbles, he whispers. It's hard to really know what he's exactly saying, but he of course took the opportunity to rip right into Donald Trump, claiming that Trump hasn't achieved anything triumphant in his first 100 days.
What does President Biden say about Trump's first 100 days?
I'll let history judge that. I don't see anything that was triumphant.
And you see things to worry about. Do you, when you talk of a threat to democracy, worry about a threat to democracy here at home, here in the United States?
I'm less concerned about that than I was, because I think the Republican Party is waking up to what Trump is about.
Do you think they may fight back?
I think the beginning, yes.
Isn't it interesting, Brianna? All last year we heard from Joe Biden and the Democrats that Trump was a threat to democracy, and now it turns out that democracy hasn't ended and there are no signs that it is ending anytime soon with Donald Trump in power. But I want to get your reaction. What are your thoughts on this interview from Joe Biden?
Yeah, I think three main points. First of all, on the democracy, I have no idea what he's talking about when he says that Republicans are kind of like wisening up to it. Couldn't tell you what he's talking about. Second of all, no one is talking about this interview here the way that it probably would have been if this was, let's say, Obama reflecting in Donald Trump's first term, right? You would think there'd be more fanfare. It's not. Lastly, he says that there have been no accomplishments. And I've written about this. Donald Trump has done several things that are important. But the number one thing Donald Trump did, which if it was his only accomplishment would have been more than enough to sustain us for 4 years, is he shut down the southern border that Joe Biden left open. It was the Biden administration that used a forklift to open up the fences that Texas had, right? And Donald Trump shut it down completely. We have record low crossings across the border. We're not releasing people into the interior of the United States. So for Joe Biden to say that he's done nothing, either Joe Biden is trying to cover up for what he did for 4 years, or he legitimately is mentally ill and doesn't see what Donald Trump has done.
Well said. Well, let's talk about what is happening in the United States. There's been a breakthrough in the tariff standoff between the US and China. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and the US Trade Representative will meet with Chinese officials in Switzerland this weekend. Now, Scott Bessent says that the focus will be on de-escalation.
Well, I think that this is what we're going to do in Switzerland is we've agreed to talk. Then on Saturday and Sunday, we will agree what we're going to talk about. My sense is that this will be about de-escalation, not about the big trade deal.
While many countries received a 90-day reprieve for Liberation Day tariffs above the baseline rate of 10% last month, the US, of course, increased the overall penalty on Chinese goods to 145%. Beijing responded by raising tariffs on US goods to 125%. Now, Donald Trump was asked about the talks today. This is what he had to say.
We'll see. I mean, look, it's... We were losing $1 trillion a year. Now we're not losing anything, you know? That's the way I look at it. We were losing with China on trade $1 trillion a year. More, actually. 1.1. But let's say $1 trillion. You know what we're losing now? Nothing. That's not bad.
Plenty of people, of course, want to see a fair deal made. What can we expect from this first meeting?
Well, I think Scott Bessent has proven himself time and time again throughout his long career about the type of negotiator he is. And Donald Trump and Scott Bessent are both on the same page, and they're very clear. This is about leveling the playing field, because it's not that China just has, or, other countries don't have tariffs on us, we have tariffs on them, vice versa, however it works, right? It's that China engages in things like debt trap diplomacy, currency manipulation. They ship things to Mexico so that they can bypass tariffs because of the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement that Donald Trump got in his first term, right? So there's a lot of different things that we have to do right now over the next 4 years to level that playing field. There is a lot of talk domestically. Mike Pence said it, cheaper goods is part of the American dream. People are worried about these tariffs with China. At the end of the day, there is no cheap good that is worth the expense of losing all of our manufacturing and losing to China in this trade war. So I'm hopeful for these talks. I think that they're not going to back down. It's a game of chicken, and I think China will back down first.
Okay, we will wait and see. I suppose those talks have happened sooner than expected, some might say. But Donald Trump has also announced that the US will stop bombing the Houthi rebels in Yemen, claiming that essentially the Houthis have surrendered. And the president says that they just don't want to fight anymore.
We had some very good news last night. The Houthis have announced that they are not, or they've announced to us at least, that they don't want to fight anymore. They just don't want to fight. And we will honor that, and we will stop the bombings. And they have capitulated, but more importantly, we will take their word. They say they will not be blowing up ships anymore. And that's what the purpose of what we were doing. So that's just news. We just found out about that.
So as part of this ceasefire agreement, the Houthis have agreed to stop targeting shipping in the Red Sea. This is a significant announcement, and the president, of course, deserves credit for this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Look, the Houthis, I believe it was December, they kind of issued their own moratorium, so to speak, on bombing. But the Biden administration had also been bombing. So this was a continuation. Donald Trump's administration comes in March, and they resume this bombing campaign because we needed to get to the point where the Houthis are outright saying, at least according to Donald Trump, we're not interested in this anymore. That being said, there's talks that Israel was not made aware of these discussions between the Houthis and the United States. And I like Donald Trump's response. Basically, he said, look, they're not going to go after the United States. Things are good between us. That's all I care about. That's the type of president that Americans elected in November. America first. We only care about what's going on with us unless, something dramatic happens.
Absolutely, and that is what we are seeing with President Trump in power, America first. And even though Joe Biden thinks that Donald Trump has achieved nothing triumphant, there's been so many achievements, such as closing the border and following through with his deportation promise. The Trump administration has deported more than 150,000 people since Trump took office on January 20, delivering on a key election promise. And the administration has also encouraged illegal immigrants to leave voluntarily. We know that many on the left, people, they want to see people who've come to America illegally stay in the country. So much so, they're making a song and dance about it and protesting. This is the latest video of lefties singing in protest outside Delaney Hall Detention Centre in New Jersey. Some are even holding up stop signs demanding that deportation stop. Brianna, I have to get your reaction to that video, but this is what the Democrats want. Some of them, of course, not all, but they'd rather see people who entered the country illegally stay.
Yeah, I'm curious to know how many illegal migrants each of those individuals singing actually are housing in their homes, right? Because at the end of the day, most people say they want XYZ, but they live cushy lives. It was the same when we had seen, 50 migrants bus to Martha's Vineyard, which is this very rich enclave. And within 48 hours, all the migrants were gone because it turns out rich Democrats who say they don't care about, or, we love immigrants, all that stuff, don't actually want illegal migrants in their community. And what's really concerning is the song, the message they were saying, let my people stay. Your people are the American people. Your people are not foreigners who come into this country. Some are on the terrorist watch list. Some come and murder young women running, right? They're not your people. Your people are the American people, and you should care about their safety and your sovereignty.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brianna, anti-Israel activists have once again taken over elite universities. A group of masked anti-Israel protesters stormed Columbia University's Butler Library today, with reports of at least 2 people being injured and around 80 people were taken into custody, according to reports from the New York Post. But let's just take a look at what unfolded. Despite the threat of funding being pulled, this elite university is just failing to stamp out anti-Semitism.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm curious what will happen next, because I think part of their agreement with the Trump administration to keep federal funding included not allowing people to wear masks on campus. And we clearly see that there are individuals who have their face covered. So I'm curious whether that deal is in place right now and whether there will be severe repercussions. I also think this is indicative of the leadership at Columbia not taking seriously the Trump administration. So revoking their funding and federal funds should be an immediate tomorrow action, just to let them know that the Trump administration is serious, whether Columbia is or is not.
Brianna Lyman, elections correspondent at The Federalist, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.